everything's actually working. I know Linus is not here. He's off doing something. If you saw my tweet, he actually did show up in the room, sat down, we filmed the intro for YouTube, and then he left again. So, like, I tried. I almost had him here. Anyways, we just decided to just go. He's going to be back, so he's coming at some point. Anyways, we've got cool topics for you. Obviously, the Windows 10 conference happened, so we'll be talking about that a ton. It probably won't be as ridiculous as the Facebook bought Oculus thing, but we'll be talking about it quite a bit. The GTX 960 has officially launched, as anyone who has a YouTube account is sure to have noticed that every single person ever released a GTX 960 video. Also, Nintendo has announced the end of Club Nintendo, but it's all not bad news, so we'll talk about that later as well, get the good news out there. And the GTX 970 may not be able to utilize its 4 gigabytes of VRAM entirely. Talk about that later on as well. Roll the intro.
Who are the sponsors again today?
It's right there.
Oh. Yay, lynda.com, our favorite monster truck simulation online. That's not what they do.
Nope.
It's for learning.
Online learning.
Hence the book.
Videos and stuff.
Yeah, well, the book makes less sense in that context, but...
Yes. Well, Linda read the book, and then she told you through the videos.
I actually think a lot of the things that you learn on lynda.com have no application where you would really want to learn them. Like, would you learn Photoshop from a book?
You could.
Well, what you wouldn't learn from a book is how to save money on your razors and other bathroom supplies.
You could.
You could, but no one's
There could be like a saving money on razors and bathroom supplies for dummies book.
No one wants to read the book on saving money on bathroom supplies. I love this show.
Oh no.
All right.
Oh man.
Sorry, I just had to review something. Whenever I do a particularly negative video about a product, I tend to want to cross all my T's and dot all my I's, because the last thing I need is a lawsuit for defamation or like anything like that. Yeah, that's right. It's different from refamation, which is taking people who aren't famous and making them famous again. Like Carrie Fisher. Anyway, let's go ahead and maybe just start this show. Ooh. So we're going to kick off with the one thing in the show that I actually didn't look into at all. So you're on your own for this one. Backed by NVIDIA, Catopsys brings Microsoft's IllumiRoom vision to life.
So you knew about IllumiRoom. Wow, I can totally talk when I'm sick. You know the IllumiRoom concept, right? Where there's the TV screen, and then the IllumiRoom projector, which would be behind you, essentially extends the TV screen to try and make it more immersive. Well, they actually kind of did it, and it's called whatever it's called. How is the name of it not in here? Immersis. There we go. The name of it's not in the title. Nice. Awesome.
Trying to post the link here. There we
go. It happens to be an expected price of $2,500.
$2,500, eh?
And they would need developers to step behind it to actually make stuff for this to work. So that's a really ugly combination with people like, I can't remember the name of it right now, but SteelSeries thing, the eye tracker. Tobii.
Yeah.
Well, no. It's different when it's sold by SteelSeries.
Yeah, whatever.
But it's the Tobii eye tracker. Yeah, but anyways, whatever. That thing has some amounts of trouble with adoption. I think the main game they're really standing behind it is an indie game that they're probably paying to stand behind it.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. But like... There's the one of the problems with all these different things coming out, Oculus, Gear VR, every other VR solution ever, this thing, eye tracking, hand tracking stuff, is even something we're going to talk about later, HoloLens, is you need developers to develop things for these things. And when it's $2,500 and you need a PC to be set up in your living room, not just a console... and you need a living room where you can have a projector behind the couch. Like, there's a lot of variables here, and I don't see the install base being huge. And I think that it's probably going to be a problem for developers.
You are
I
like
don't know.
Nostradamus. You're like, this thing's expensive for a functionality that no one really asked for.
Like, it's
Probably
cool.
adoption won't be great.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a cool idea. There's really no more. It's IllumiRoom. Like, you can watch the videos, you can see that it can fold and go into a box, and you can carry it around. Hooray! But it's IllumiRoom, which is cool. But yeah, I wouldn't
right.
spend $2,500.
Speaking of things that are cool with no application as far as I can tell, artificial intelligence helps Mario play his own game. I'm going to go ahead and post this in the Twitch chat here.
So
Boom.
he has learned certain things, like jumping on a Goomba will definitely kill it. And stuff like that. He's made decisions based on his learning. He's decided how to get through different levels and stuff. He's able to figure out very efficient ways to do things.
Yeah, he can calculate, how many moves something will require.
Yep.
He apparently has moods, which from reading a little bit further into the article, seems to be mostly just pre-programmed logic trees as opposed to a true AI.
Like everything. Hooray! It's cool, but like I don't know. It's been done before. It's pre-programmed logic arrays, what it is able to kind of add to a little bit, but like it knows the path that it should go down, and then it's just filling a database of information of results of actions essentially. Which, yes, of course, that's how things learn. But it's not crazy advanced. We not only have more advanced AI projects out there, but this has also been done before. I think it's just the most advanced AI Mario, because why? So I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's a fun project.
Speaking of Mario, we're gonna try and move pretty quick here, guys, because we do want to spend a fair bit of time on the Windows 10 Keynote. Not as much time as they spent, mind you, but
yes, not 2 hours and 20 minutes or whatever it was.
So let's go ahead. So Club Nintendo to be discontinued worldwide.
Wow, them ads.
Can you? What is going on here? Look at this. The ad is like half of it's here, half of it's here. Oh,
it's on each side.
Oh.
It just the ad doesn't resize.
All right. NintendoInsider.com. If your sighted man is watching, we have a sponsor, Squarespace. They have like stuff that will make it so this won't happen. So anyway, okay, fine, whatever.
Frameworks and whatnot. Anyways,
go ahead.
Club Nintendo is shutting down. They'll be discontinuing the service on the 30th of September, or end of June in North America and 30th September in the EU. They've been running it for about 6 years. It is going to be replaced by a new program.
A new loyalty program.
Yes. The current one, honestly, is super badass. Club Nintendo is great. Like, you get coins from buying games, which, like, okay, whatever. But then those coins kind of last for a really long time. Then you can spend them on real-world physical items or digital games. And if you buy a real-world physical item, the shipping is totally free. It's actually pretty cool.
Maybe it's too expensive.
It might be too expensive. It might be just like some of the problems that they've been having is the merchandise for it, coming out with new things.
Right.
A lot of the times there isn't really a new thing and the previous thing sold out, so it's just like, what do I use these coins for? I kind of want to save for a physical item that is exclusive instead of just buying this thing that I could get off the Wii U store for not much money anyways.
Right.
So a lot of people just sit there hoarding their coins forever, waiting for something new to come out, then it sells out too quickly anyways, so they don't get it. So it can be frustrating. It's a cool program, but it can be a frustrating program. So I think they're going to try, hopefully, replace it with something a little bit more elegant.
And I guess this gives them an opportunity to eliminate the coin hoarding by getting people reset. Unless they offer people, like...
I think they've done resets in the past, but then that's always ugly as well.
Yeah, I mean, the optics of that are just kind of terrible.
Yes,
it's like, so you're resetting because you planned it poorly?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I don't know, not the end of the world. If you are a Club Nintendo guy and you have a bunch of coins, read up more on it. They have tons of information on like when the last date to get coins from games is, when the last date to redeem things are, when the last date to buy things is. If or not they're going to be adding more things to it, because I think they're adding more physical items like rapid fire just before the end, so you can dump all your coins. But I'm not entirely sure about that. Go read up on it if you care, essentially.
Dang it, you went for so long that my segue is not going to necessarily work that well. But you said it wasn't the end of the world. And I was going to say, speaking of things that could be the end of the world, this service, this is absolutely fantastic. And, whoever did our notes on this one didn't actually manage to put the name of the service in the notes, and I've forgotten what it is.
Second time.
Invisible Girlfriend. Create your own girlfriend or boyfriend. There's also Invisible Boyfriend. Equal opportunity sort of service here. All right, so this isn't the first app that promises to be your virtual partner, but these apps take a bit of a unique approach to it in that they actually pair you with someone with a paid virtual girlfriend or boyfriend that will send you messages and selfies and voicemails and even handwritten notes.
Yeah.
So, apparently the selfies are going to be stock photos, but that doesn't actually sound right from what I was reading then. So.
You know what the best thing is, though? Have you read the text message conversation?
Yeah, here, let me just...
So good. Oh, man, it was lovely. It's the text message conversation... Oh, you're looking for something else?
I'm looking for the text message conversation.
It's in the Linus Tech Tips.
Oh, it's in the thread.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, awesome. This was posted... Oh, crap! We haven't said who's posted things. Okay, so Good Bites for the IllumiRoom thing. Sadizna for Mario AI. Ah Ming for this thing. Tank Slayer X for Nintendo Virtual whatever club thing. Okay.
Nintendo Virtual whatever club.
Sorry, I was thinking of the Club Nintendo and the Virtual Boy. Both things that are gone.
Yes.
All right, so here we go. So the thread on Linus Tech Tips actually has a little bit more information. So the app is only available in private beta and US and Canada, but the creators are hoping to raise funds so they can expand to other parts of the world, like countries where it is a crime to be gay, and people might have a need for a fake heterosexual relationship. That is actually a very compelling use for an application like this. So this guy is apparently...
If the text messages were better, maybe?
Clark Kent. So here's an example of some text messages. Hey, Carissa, this is Clark. How are you? OMG, why didn't you text me last night? Where were you? Sorry, I left my phone at work. Let me make it up to you. I don't believe you. I was in such a rush when I left yesterday. I was charging it and forgot all about it. I'm sorry, really. The stupidest thing about this is as, like, not sort of great as those messages are, they're kind of convincing.
Yes, but
I could imagine having that conversation.
What I kind of love about it too, though, is that in their example, he goes, I miss you, I've been working so much lately, I need a vacation, want to come with me? So in that use case where, like, you need to try to have a heterosexual relationship because of laws and blah, 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 it should be like, yeah, definitely, let's go. Instead, it's like, what have you been working on? What? This is your example. Give a better example than that. God. Wow. So, like, yes, it's very bad at responding.
So, anyway, the personalized texts, maybe they're going to work on making them better, but basically they have paid people who are sending texts and voicemails and handwritten notes, and it's $25 a month, and I think that includes, what was it, 2 handwritten notes, 25 texts, or something along those lines. I can't remember what exactly the model is. I don't know what to say. Like, I feel like for someone somewhere, this is something that they would really like to have, but I've got to wonder, like, would they not be better off just kind of making a friend online that shares a common interest on, like, Steam versus trying to use a service like this to have them be a girlfriend or a boyfriend?
I have to imagine that, considering how fake it feels, that you'd have to kind of know. So I feel like it would be more of an external thing. Like, I don't know how many... Of course, there's going to be some. Of course, there's probably going to be a lot. But I don't know how many use cases that I understand, I guess, as much, where someone would do it as, like, a partnership thing. But I know a lot of use cases that I understand a lot more, where someone might want to do it as an external thing. Look, this is my person. Like the thing we were talking about.
I see. Okay, I'm going to try and explain what you're saying in a way that might actually be clear. So what he means is, like,
a lot of sense. Internal
if you're showing
relationship
off
versus external relationship.
Yeah. Like if the idea is not that you're doing it for your own satisfaction, but you're doing it to, like, prove to grandma that you are not a shut-in or whatever else.
If you're a girl and your family's like, oh my goodness, why haven't you started a relationship? We want babies.
Yeah.
And be like, well, I did.
Here I'm, there's this
on it.
Luc Lafreniere guy that I'm texting a lot, and he sends me selfies of himself in the shower. Wait, sorry, I'm thinking of my phone.
Whoa, yeah. We weren't supposed to talk about that. Snapchat's a hell of a thing. Anyways.
Speaking of things we shouldn't talk about, or should talk about,
you're right.
PRWeb.com has an article posted by Clockaloco803, whatever. I tried. Do you want to post this one in the chat?
Yes, got it.
But these are the most used passwords of 2014. If your password is on this list, change it now. And actually, the password that you thought was my password is not my password.
No, I didn't do that.
Oh, okay.
I know, I saw that written there somewhere, but that wasn't from me.
All right, so there's a couple other tips. Don't use your favorite sport. Don't use your favorite team. Don't use your birthday, or especially just your birth year. Information that is really not that hard to find these days. In fact, I really feel like all this digital security stuff gets a lot of attention, whereas it's really the more traditional security systems that are bothering me lately. Like I had my bank call about something, and yes, they called my phone number, which is a form of authentication, but the only security question they asked me was my birth date.
That's not even close to enough.
Which is not good enough. And you know what the funny thing about it too, though, is, and this is one that really makes me mad, is when the security questions on a website, okay, I'm going back to digital now. Yeah, but when they're fixed.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know any of these things.
I think, and so I've gotten riled for a few things on like the Linus Tech Tips forum, but I'm not super worried about like a forum. Like a bank is more, if I'm ever talking about like login form security and all this kind of stuff, I'm talking more about like a bank or your email, not your forum login. But
yeah, if you guys are storing like sensitive personal information in your Linus Tech Tips forum, please don't. Like, it's not like it's not encrypted. It's not like we don't have security, but like,
and we do.
That's just idiotic.
Like, why are you doing that? Anyways, what was I gonna say?
And we're not talking like having your birthday in your profile. We're talking like if you have like images in your image upload account or something like that are like of your passport. Like, just be smart online. That's all I'm asking.
But like, when like a bank has fixed security questions, or when like I've seen banks start implementing a 3-stage thing. Mm-hmm. You put in your login name, it loads another page. You identify an image, it loads another page. You put in a password, it loads you into the bank, which is interesting, except that the amount of times that they challenge you with the image is near zero. Like, why did you even implement that security step? It does nothing.
Right. I think it's more likely to challenge you if you're on an IP that's not your usual IP.
It is.
So,
but it's still extremely low.
Right.
Like my bank does it, and I checked while I was in Vegas, which is scary, but I did it in a fairly safe way. And it didn't challenge me with a picture change.
Well, people are the biggest obstacle, because mine used to do it every time I was on an unfamiliar connection.
It should.
And then probably people complained because it doesn't do it anymore. So, okay, anyway, let's get back to this topic. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unchanged from 2013. Rock on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you glorious bastard. Number 2, password.
Unchanged.
Same position as last year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 has really climbed the ranks this year, up 17 positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 has fallen from 3rd to 4th. So if you thought you were being more secure by going from 5 digits to 8 digits, you were. But not by much. Because when we're talking brute force attacks and the millions of attempts they can do per second, the difference between 2 and 3, when it goes through this list, not going to be a whole lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, because most brute forces will start with a pre-dictionary first. Anyways, yeah.
So QWERTY, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 does provide an almost immaterial extra level of security. 1, 2, 3, 4 is apparently more secure than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 if it's using a dictionary-based attack as opposed to just a sequential attack. So there's that.
Usually it's stacked, though. It'll do a series of common passwords, and then it'll do a dictionary. Anyways.
Dragon. Dragon is number 9. Why? Was it because How to Train
Maybe
Your Dragon
MSI is
awesome?
like super popular right now.
Let Mine is up 1. I actually don't even know what that means.
Let Mine looks not English.
Monkey is up 5 to number 12.
Good job, Monkey.
Master is 19. Is Beta on here? Batman is. Master Batman.
I love new 696969.
How is that new? I would have expected that to be fairly common.
Yeah, I know.
Trust No One is 25th. That is one that I would not have imagined would be nearly as popular as Batman.
Oh, it's Let Me In.
Oh, Let Me In.
The Twitch chat is like, wow, dude, you guys are dumb.
You know what?
Got it.
Maybe if whoever came up with that capitalized the first letter of every word or something, which would actually have made it more secure as well.
Yeah.
Let's not blame me for the stupidity of this list. Any of it.
One of my favorite things is bringing up the social engineering aspect of hacking to people. Talking about how like leaving flash drives around and having people plug them into their computers and compromising their security that way. Or just talking to people.
Right.
Being like, what was your mom's maiden name? And be like, oh, well, funny story. It's blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, now I can get into like every account ever. And
Mine's a trick.
good. Yeah, no, that's actually not a bad idea at all.
Actually, sorry, can I, sorry, I'll let you finish.
I can get back to this.
Okay, you'll remember?
Yeah.
Okay, because this is kind of a funny story. There is, my mother's maiden name question is a trick, but there's one account that I have to use, I think, once every 6 years. You know what? I'll just say what account it is because it's not going to matter. I'm not going to say what the trick is. So it's my ICBC account, my insurance account. I used a different trick answer than on any of the other ones. So every 6 years, when I have to renew my license, they'll ask me, and I'll be like, this, and they'll be like, no, and I'll be like, right, that one. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That's awkward. Right, so yeah, I think it was Jimmy Fallon or some nighttime TV guy thing did like checking people's passwords in, I think, New York or wherever he's from. So they'd go on the street and be like, "Oh, what's your password?" And people would be like, "Oh, I don't want to tell you." And they'd be like, "Oh, okay, well, like, what's it made up of?" They'd be like, "Okay, well, it's like my mother's maiden name and then my birthday." They'd go like, "Oh, that's cool. Are you close to your mom?" And then blah, blah, blah. "Okay, what's your mother's maiden name?" And then they'll tell them. And then, "Oh, yeah, and when were you born?" And then they'll tell them. And it's like, oh, my God. It was fantastic. I don't remember who it was, but just like, these are the problems with those types of securities. It's so easy to just talk to people and get this information.
Smegzar here brings up a really good point.
Schmegzar.
Why the hell are you wearing a hat?
I forgot about it. It's because I'm sick and I had a shower but really needed to work on things, so came out and didn't fully towel off and put on this.
So it's a towel hat.
It's a towel hat. Hey, my hair actually kind of like worked out under that.
Sort of. Except this bit back here.
We'll fix it.
Yeah, I'll just...
We have the... Oh, jeez. It's already like... Oh, no, it isn't. We have the technology.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. This is one that I have to talk about for a little bit.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Because, okay, I can't really say anything.
Oh, go for it. Keep going.
No, I can't say certain things about this.
What?
But this was posted by CastDeath97 on the forum. Original article here is from 9 to 5 Mac. You want it?
What? I thought we were doing this one.
Oh, no, one up.
We're okay. Whoa.
That one.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Much less confused now.
No, this is something that I'm sort of stoked to talk about. So
Gotcha.
I'm gonna go ahead and screen share here. Okay, so the rumor is Apple targets for the Apple Watch battery life have been revealed. There is apparently an A5 caliber CPU inside, something that is both impressive and completely unnecessary. Depending on what kind of experience Apple expects you to have with the watch, which of course does seem to be pretty different from what everyone else is targeting with their smartwatches. So unlike other smartwatch makers, Apple is including, I believe it includes Wi-Fi, although I feel like I'm saying something stupid here. So aside from Bluetooth, my understanding is the Apple Watch will also include Wi-Fi connectivity. So that is already very different because it's no longer reliant on being tethered to another device in order for it to tell you anything useful. And then the other big difference is that based on that, it's going to be running kind of a stripped down iOS and going to have this super powerful processor. I'm guessing you'll be able to run some seriously much more powerful apps on the Apple Watch compared to what we can currently do on Android Wear devices, which are basically, I mean, yeah, you can dink around with some apps. I found a Spin the Bottle app when I was doing my Moto 360 review. It's like, let's play Spin the Bottle.
Just
it's
shove
like,
my arm awkwardly in the middle of the group.
It's like, this result is not looking favorable. Hold on, I'm just going to turn my wrist this way.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the specifications themselves tell us that Apple is expecting it to be used a little bit differently, but these battery targets look bad. Like super, super bad.
Yeah, I noticed
So they're expecting you to get 1 day, but we're not talking always on 1 day like the G Watch are, where I actually forgot to charge it last night and I'm sitting at 17%. I get almost 2 days out of this thing. I even got a full 2 days once.
Cool.
So we're talking screen off 1 day of battery life. So they're figuring 2.5 hours under heavy use, things like games. But if you're playing games on your watch, you are really doing it wrong, especially because the assumption, which is a safe one in this case, is that you already have an iPhone, which is a much better gaming plan. Anyway, okay, so 2.5 hours in games. Where did that go? Okay, 4 hours of exercise tracking. Are you for real? So if I go up and I go skiing, I'm done?
Yeah, and like the big problem with this too is I didn't even think about the skiing thing. Honestly, I was just thinking about a normal workout session. So a lot of people will do half an hour to an hour, but that means that you just took out a quarter of your entire phone's battery life.
Watch, but...
Watch.
3 hours of continuously looking at the watch face. 3 hours.
Ugh.
That is brutal.
That's super not good.
And so they figure 19 hours of combined active and passive usage with about 2 to 3 days in standby. Now, the scariest thing about all of this is that the rumor mill is swirling with they may not even hit these targets. So I think it is fairly safe to say. Here's a cool image of the Maglock wireless charging connector. So that's kind of cool. So the whatever. Okay, the point is, do not buy the Apple Watch.
We got there.
Yeah. The reason I wanted to talk about this was not just to highlight how abysmal those results are for the Apple Watch. And I see what Apple's trying to do here. They're trying to deliver a very different experience, one that's more like a phone on your wrist that's extremely small and less like a wearable accessory that is tethered to a computer in your pocket. I get it, but the technology is just straight up not there yet. The battery, I mean, Apple has been an innovator when it comes to battery life and when it comes to processor efficiency, but that doesn't change that it simply doesn't exist yet to do that.
And like I complain about what people are doing with phone batteries, but I just don't think they can with watch batteries right now.
And the thing about that makes me say that don't buy it is that I have experience with the difference between those two use case scenarios. So the Moto 360, I ended up giving a pretty negative review of that device. And some of the problems were just the general glitchiness of Android Wear, which has been addressed somewhat with the Lollipop update. So I'm running that on the G Watch R, the review of which will be coming fairly soon. But a lot of it was just, I just didn't like it. And I couldn't put my hand on quite why. I just didn't like it. And it turns out the answer, now that I'm running the G Watch R, is that always off bothers me in a way that, or not always on, because it's not always off, but off unless you gesture or touch it, bothers me in a way that even I didn't quite understand. And I've talked about it on the show before. I hate that. I think it's stupid, but it just made using the device not pleasant and not natural and not enjoyable. And so the Apple Watch, I'm going to say it right now, it's going to be unnatural and unenjoyable, and you're going to be spending way too much for that experience because Apple's trying to put too much hardware into something that just isn't ready for it yet.
Yes.
Speaking of battery life, though, actually, I want to jump to a topic. So, do you want to do one in the meantime? Maybe do the next one here.
Okay.
I'll screen share that while I go fetch something because I forgot.
Sure.
So this was posted by Rohith Kumar _SP on
just
the forum.
reminding, I think a lot of people want to hear about the Windows 10 thing. So
Yeah.
we should
Oh,
try
yeah,
to
that's
keep
coming.
flying and get to that. So the next thing we're doing is that Moot is quitting 4chan. But yeah, I put a big...
You did? Oh,
I did,
good.
yeah.
It's like, he still owns it as far as I can tell.
Yeah. So he's quitting the controversial website after 12 years. So, yeah, well, 11.5, I guess I should clarify. He said that the website's gone through a number of challenges throughout the years and kind of made it through a lot of them, but the biggest point of failure that they have right now is that there's one large, uncomfortable point of one uncomfortably large point of failure, which is him, Moot. So he's kind of stepping down or quitting, however much that is true, so that a few senior volunteers can kind of take the place leading the website. He says that they will be financially secure for the foreseeable future and there will be no problems. I seriously doubt this is a full quit. But not like anything really changes over there anyways, so no one will probably notice anyways. So, yeah.
So there's that.
He quit, and I don't think it matters.
All right, so I just wanted to on the subject of devices with better battery and just kind of deprioritizing power where it's not really necessary. These guys reached out asking us to do a review. They're an incredibly small company. Their website is spectrumhq.net. I guess I should just screen share that instead of just getting rid of my screen share. And what I thought was interesting about this phone was not necessarily that it has the most groundbreaking specs in the world. It actually uses it's a 1.3 gigahertz quad-core MediaTek chipset. It's got 1 gig of, the base model has 1 gig of RAM, 8 gigs of storage, 720p display. But what I thought was interesting about it is that it's $150, and I know that inexpensive MediaTek-based phones are not necessarily revolutionary, but what I thought was interesting about it is that it has a 4,000 milliamp hour battery in a reasonable form factor and with an IPS display. So I just thought, basically, I think it's still pre-order, but I have a working one here. Unfortunately, it has pretty narrow band support, so you're gonna have to make sure that your carrier will actually work with it. But with the power sipping components in here and a 4,000 milliamp hour battery for $150, it's got dual SIM. It's also got micro SD expansion. I think up to 32 gig support. I thought it looked interesting. I told them, look, I can't review a phone that doesn't work on my carrier, because that's just my policy now, because I want to
You won't necessarily inherently use it enough that way.
Yes. But what I told them is just because I thought what they were doing was interesting, and I agree with things like not necessarily going, 2560 by 1440 on the display, settling for 720p, but making sure it's an IPS panel instead of a TN panel like you might find on a lot of inexpensive phones. And so I just wanted to mention it just because, actually here, I think this cap from their site, 4,000 milliamp hour glory. Something that may actually get you through a couple of days, because while I kind of railed on Motorola about the Droid Turbo claiming to offer 2-day battery life, and actually it has a similar capacity battery in it, the issue is that it runs extremely powerful hardware, and so that's where you're going to lose a lot of the battery life that you might get from a device like this. So there you go. It's the 4,000 milliamp hour battery is actually user removable as well. So you can swap them too, which is pretty unusual. So yeah, 13 megapixel camera, not earth-shattering image quality or anything like that, but I wanted to highlight these guys because I think what they're doing is interesting, especially compared to other low-cost phones where they'll just low-cost it across the board. Seeing an IPS panel and seeing a nice high-capacity battery is refreshing.
Yep. I feel like if they had a good camera in there as well, that's all I'd really want.
All right.
You should see... Oh, man, I don't have my phone on me right now, but I took a picture today with my Moto X And I was like, all right, I should probably get a new phone. If for no other reason, just the camera. It's so garbage.
Okay, should we do a couple rapid fire topics before we get into Windows 10?
Does it matter? I don't know.
There's some interesting stuff in here. GTA 5, inside GTA 4, inside a taco, inside a Taco Bell, inside a Burger King, inside a mall, inside your brain.
This one was done very well, but it's already been done, and it's not like it's not coming out until, like, pretty soon.
OP is Terra... Oh, whoops, no,
Shujin.
wrong one. Oh, Shujin, and this is from PCGamer.com. Obviously, it's not... Oh, for crying out loud.
It's
no,
not
I
the
don't
same
care
thing.
about Guild Wars.
Nah.
There. All right. So, obviously, it's not the entire game, but it's just one of those things that grabs headlines and is therefore interesting to people to post on their news sites. AMD's CEO, Lisa Su, has confirmed, this was posted by Teraflop, that their new graphics cards will launch in the second quarter of 2015. Very good products. Coming in Q2 2015. Rumors include Fiji XT with 4096 GCN cores. And you gotta kind of feel like NVIDIA is just sitting on their butts waiting for AMD to make a move. You know, I love the guys at NVIDIA. They're my bros. They're good people. But this was posted by Opcode on the forum, and the original source here is from GeForce.com. Really? What are these sources? Why are there sources for, like, VXGI in here? All right, let's go ahead. So the GTX 960 officially launched and feels like a holding pattern. Boy, does it ever feel like a holding pattern. I mean, we were getting used to, for a while, new graphics cards launching, and basically, if the only piece of information that we gave Luke was the price, he would pretty much be able to create a performance graph of how it stacks up against all of its competitors. Because that was apparently what AMD and NVIDIA were doing. They were just figuring out how it performed and going, okay, let's price it this much.
Yeah.
Whereas the way that it used to work was that when there was a cost advantage for a new GPU or just a new design in general, we would get better performance for the price, or we would get better performance with a greater price, or like
something.
much better performance for the same price, or something. Anyway, the point is that it would try to push things
the envelope
forward, whereas the GTX 960 pushes nothing forward. And you can make the argument...
Power consumption.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is important for certain things. This will make the mobile gaming experience better. Really. It should be less expensive, though. And we've seen NVIDIA do this whole GPU creep thing over the last couple of generations, where it's like, it used to be that this class of chip went in these classes of products, and now all of a sudden this class of chip, well, hold on, there's like a Titan something. Put that one there, and then actually this one, which used to be like a X60 class product, is now a 7080 class product. This one that used to be like a X50 class product is now this. So the GTX 960 launch was a little bit disappointing to me. Yes, it compares well against its competition. But the problem is that AMD's competitors for it are these much, much larger and older GPUs that are based on, in some cases, significantly older architectures, like the R9 280X, which is like, how old is that card now?
Because it's
3 years.
Because it's not really a 280X.
Yeah, the 7970.
Yeah.
70, like, here, I'll search for, like, the launch 7970. Yeah, December 22nd, 2011. So, yeah, it's 3 years old. So AMD is sort of not really on a level playing field because they can't lower prices enough to compete with this card. And if they did, if AMD made a move in terms of pricing and went, yeah, we're just going to charge $150 for, R9 285s, NVIDIA can match that, like that. So what's my point here? The 960 came out. It's frustrating to me that...
Everyone yawned really loudly. It's also kind of annoying that it came out right after Christmas, because this is a much better Christmas-priced card than basically anything else they had. So
that's a good point. I didn't even think
pay
about
a little
that.
bit more for our cards. Oh, Christmas is over? Okay, here we go. Yeah, if they released it at Christmas time, I think they probably would have sold a lot more of these instead of 970.
Because 960 was rumored to be coming a lot sooner than it ended up coming. Well, the one that I'll be interested in is if we get a 960 Ti at $249. If it's actually based on GM204 as opposed to GM206. So right now, it's funny, we've only got 4 Maxwell desktop products, and they're running 3 different versions of the chip. Because 750 Ti is GM207. So it's GM207, GM206, and GM204, and then we haven't seen, a Titan class product, which would be running a GM2.
Well, there's rumors going on.
200. Yeah, there's lots of rumors about that. I guess that's all there is to really say about that. I mean, we're kind of curious what you guys thought of our coverage of the 960, where we kind of did a single card and then we did SLI coverage as a separate video. What you guys thought of that. Feel free to sort of post in the Twitch chat. But I'll be completely upfront with you guys. The only reason we did that is because we ended up with too many 960s by accident. So 970, 980 launch. We had 980s, no problem. NVIDIA provided those, but 970s were actually provided by the add-in board partners. And NVIDIA, apparently, somehow or another, we got allocated lots of 980s because of people like prioritizing us and wanting us to send us their best product. We didn't get a single GTX 970 on launch because everyone kind of assumed, well, someone else will send them a 970. We're going to go ahead and send them a 980. And I didn't ask about it because I just kind of assumed that I was going to be getting seeded one, and I didn't really think of it. 960... I was like, okay, we're not going to let that happen again. So I proactively was arranging samples, and then it turned out that they were going to be seeded automatically, and they were in the mail before I even found out, when the launch was. So we ended up with 3 960s instead of 1, which is what I wanted.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, well, I don't just want to do 3 of the same review because that's super boring. So let's do SLI as a separate one. So we'd love to know what you guys think of that.
Yeah.
Do we want to move into Windows 10? Or should we do sponsors first, just to get it out of the way?
About 970.
What's about 970?
The VRAM.
Oh, everyone wants us to talk about...
we should talk about
Sure.
970 so people can stop screaming, then do sponsors, and then just Windows 10 it for basically the rest of the show.
Sure. Well, no, not the rest of the show. We do have other
I said
stuff.
basically.
It is I don't want people to tune out because they don't care about Windows 10.
I do.
It'll basically be the rest of the show, but I was trying to lie. Way to ruin it.
Someone screwed up the
There is other stuff.
brighter, dimmer.
Oh, the power profiles are... It's brightening right now. It was. It stopped. Okay. All right. Where is this? 970. Apparently, the GTX 970 cannot utilize all 4 gigs of its memory. And I think that headline is a little bit misleading, although I don't necessarily disagree with the overall sentiment. This headline is better. NVIDIA's GTX 970 appears to have a rather serious memory allocation bug, because it's not that you can't access all 4 gigs, it's that once you start filling it up, the performance of the VRAM
1/25th of the speed or something like that.
Tanks significantly.
Yeah.
So it seems like when the last 500 to 700 megabytes of VRAM gets accessed, memory performance drops significantly. So this is something that is currently a developing story on Reddit, overclock.net, and Guru3D. Some users have even found their card
And NVIDIA's own websites, so just all over the place.
goes belly up when hitting 3 gigs. So it looks like it varies from card to card. The GTX 980 is fortunately not affected. Okay, so it's not a Maxwell issue, but seems to be one specific to the 970, going beyond... So basically the problem will manifest as stuttering or dramatically increased frame times. So basically just a degraded gaming experience, even though FPS reporting might still seem like it's okay. So here were the results. Blippity bloopity bloopity bloop. Yep, so a fraction of the performance once it reaches the end here. So we're seeing 150 gigabytes per second from this benchmark here fall to 22 or even as low as 6 gigabytes per second once the card is full. So this writer says, well, the card still performs like a champ, which is good. This makes it extremely hard to recommend this card right now, especially in light of the fact that one of the big arguments for the GTX 970 is how it not only has the horsepower to game at 4K, it has the VRAM that you're going to need to run high-resolution textures at high resolutions. Which I mean, and oh man, this just has fail written all over it, doesn't it?
We don't. Yeah, we're still waiting to hear back from NVIDIA, though. And
I think, everyone's waiting to hear back from NVIDIA.
Yeah.
NVIDIA is investigating.
They are investigating. They have officially responded, and they are investigating. So I think we need to kind of hold tight and wait till we hear back from them.
Some people are speculating recall already, and we don't know that will be the case. Although...
Wild accusations!
The thing is that... this looks pretty low level. This isn't something that's showing up just in games. This is something where people can... Okay, so if they can fix it in drivers, great.
Yeah.
If it requires a firmware fix, they might recall.
Gross. Yeah.
Because you can't expect... Well, okay, it's easier than it used to be. Like, we had to update the firmware on our 970 WindForce.
You still can't really expect people to do that on their own, because there's possibilities of bricking and whatnot.
But the problem is, like... And then whose problem is it? Is it the board partners? Is it the retailers? I remember the last time we had a recall. It was the Rev 1 of the P67 chipset. Back at NCIX. Remember B2?
Oh, no. That was horrible.
Yeah. It was a disaster.
That took me a second to kind of... Oh, that was... Oh.
And so the way that one worked, that one, even more unfortunately, was a hardware respin as opposed to just a firmware update. So and I don't even know. I mean, NVIDIA might not be able to fix this with a firmware update, or they might. But that one was just a disaster.
There's some people getting pretty low level in terms of like what could be causing the issue, and there's some speculation on each side where well, if these things are what's actually happening, then it could maybe be firmware fixed, or if these things are what's actually happening, it might have to be a hardware replacement of some sort, etc., etc. It's pretty interesting.
So basically, in development, we don't know. No one knows right now.
Yeah.
NVIDIA's investigating. I can't believe they didn't notice this.
Yes.
And
like, even if you did, I can't believe you would possibly think that no one would notice it. So I'm pretty sure they didn't notice it.
NVIDIA, they tend to take the approach where they want to make sure their technology is legitimately better so they can maintain their kind of smarmy attitude about how great their tech is. They don't seem to be in the business of trying to say that it has something that it doesn't.
Yes. So I don't think they knew.
Yeah, like the
Which
last
you
thing...
can take the good and the bad from that.
The last thing NVIDIA wants is to have the smug smile wiped off their face by something embarrassing like this. So I cannot imagine for a second that anyone at NVIDIA knew about this.
I'm surprised the response wasn't at least a little bit more than one extremely short forum post.
I understand that, though. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
The response almost has to be that, because you can't say more until you know more. I mean, you
could make a more official statement saying you're looking into it.
Do you, though? I mean, okay, let's be realistic here.
Wait, was that their forums? I don't remember which forum it was. If that was their own forums, then that's probably fine.
Can't remember.
I can't remember.
Anyway, the point is, like, the only people who know about this right now are going to be hardcore enthusiasts who are on sites like OCN. Okay, is NVIDIA going to go and send an e-blast to everyone in their GeForce.com mailing list about something like this? When for most people...
My problem was more the fact that it's extremely short. I think it's like one line responding to one person's quote. And they're like, by the way, looking into it.
Yeah, like but you can't say more. Because as soon as you say more, then you're like bound to that. And when you don't know what's going on, you have to investigate first. Yeah. Like I don't disagree with you. I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Because for the consumer who spent their money and bought that graphics card, they deserve more. So
it's actually a better line than I thought it was.
We are still looking into this.
And we'll have an update as soon as possible. I thought it was shorter than that, to be completely honest.
So, but from a corporate standpoint, from a legal standpoint...
Well, because if you admit blame on a legal standpoint, then even if you rectify yourself later, you're still in the wrong.
So there's a ton of reasons why they just shouldn't say more, and they should say nothing until they know what their action plan is, because...
Legal standpoint and that kind of stuff is really weird, because apologizing is always a negative thing, no matter what, in a legal standpoint.
And aside from all of that, like remember, NVIDIA's not just dealing with the end user customers, they're dealing with like their add-in board partner customers on this, who are going, yo dog, what's going on? Who's footing the bill if these cards are coming back? Like, I can assure you those questions are already happening right now.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
You know what? That actually leads really well into Puget's thing.
We have like 35 minutes right now.
That's it?
To do Windows.
Okay, well, I still want to do the Puget thing.
Okay.
So this is... and I guess we should talk about the Backblaze thing while we're at it. Dang it. So Puget... So these are more like... can you post these in the chat? These are more like, if you feel like checking them out, go ahead and check them out. They're not as scientific as I think the graphs would indicate that they appear to be. For example, Puget's thing here is strictly based on, I think it's Asus graphics cards. So on both the NVIDIA and the AMD side, but they show desktop GPU failure rate by DOA, or failure during their testing, and then failure out in the field. So they show that NVIDIA has actually improved quite a bit since the GTX 200 series, with the 700 series being the best so far, and no data for 900 series. And then AMD being kind of a little bit all over the map here. And then their hypothesis was, or their theory or whatever was, that it seems to be something about AMD because all the cards are from Asus. But that may not necessarily be the case because there's a lot of different reasons a card might fail earlier. For example, if AMD's pricing was lower, it's a lot harder for someone like an add-in board partner to bake in the margin that they need and the build quality that they want to put into it, so they might cut corners on something, even if it's the exact same manufacturer. That's why you don't see a $200 graphics card built on exactly the same like PCB design and power delivery design as a $500 graphics card. So if the ASP is just lower on one side, you might get a little bit more cheaping out on things. And then Backblaze published another one. I don't even want to link this.
I did already.
Did you? Okay,
you told me to link them.
Backblaze releases flawed list of hard drive failure rates for 2014
with a series of the worst source links on the planet. We got to get that under control.
Where's the graph?
Like 4 Backblaze links in a row that just say backblaze.com. Like, what freaking ones are these? Where do they go? Completely different websites even. One of them is a blog. God. More than one of them is the blog. Anyways. Sorry. Dock frustration.
So best hard drive. Anyway, there's a graph. It says Seagate drives are terrible and Hitachi ones are good. And, here we go. Yeah, so there's the annual failure rate. Take this with an enormous grain of salt, because something that we pointed out last time they published one of these lists, every time they publish one of these lists,
we've done it like 3 or 4,
is that their methodology is terrible.
It's ridiculous.
Sometimes their sample sizes are just outright way too small. Other times their sample sizes are just too small, and other times they are like there is no controlled environment for the drives. They're running at different temperatures with different
amounts of drives in the thing,
around
more vibration, less vibration, different parts of the rack, different. Oh my!
So please ignore Backblaze's hard drive reliability.
Please never look at their blog ever.
Not because we're like super close friends with Seagate and trying to cover their butts. In fact, I'd say we have pretty much equal relationships with Seagate and WD.
We'd say the exact same thing if it was switched.
And we would say the exact same thing. It's just wrong and it's bad, and please ignore it. Speaking of things that are wrong and bad, and please ignore them.
No.
Everyone but Dollar Shave Club. See how I turned that
makes
around?
razors.
That makes razors. Yeah, I mean, you can pay attention to things other than Dollar Shave Club in life. You know what? I'm not the boss of you. Do whatever you want. But the point is, if you guys are interested in getting shaving supplies for less and more conveniently, then visit dollarshaveclub.com/Linus. They have great quality razors, and for just a few bucks a month, it's funny. It's funny because Dollar Shave Club is one of the ones that just wants me to kind of say for a few bucks a month because their pricing varies from region to region. But compared to even some of our other sponsors, their pricing varies less from region to region than almost anyone else that I've encountered, because they just seem to kind of go, okay, well, exchange rate is here, the dollar amount is here, our cost structure is this, we need to make X margin, okay, this is what it needs to be. They actually do a really good job of making sure that they're pricing the product fairly. So they send you high quality razors. They also have other bathroom supplies available, like their Dr. Carver shave butter and their One Wipe Charlie's butt wipes for men. They actually have an aftershave product now as well, and they have portable One Wipe Charlie's, so you can get the big pack. Big pack of One Wipe Charlie's? Why would you need a big pack of One Wipe Charlie's? Because you poo a lot.
Yeah.
For your bathroom.
You poo a very normal amount, which
or
is more than once ever.
Little travel
that would be
satchels.
a serious problem.
So
if they sent you once a month, I think you'd like
one of the little ones once a month. It's like
you'll be okay.
Hold your poo for 2 weeks in between.
Oh man, I have a really. Oh no, I'm not even gonna go there.
Okay, so the point is dollarshaveclub.com/Linus. We love those guys. They're nice guys. They've been supporting us a long time. And if you're looking for a way to save yourself some hassle on your shaving supply shopping, then that is pretty much the way to do it. We've had a lot of people give us tons of positive feedback. We've been working with Dollar Shave Club for wow.
What a while.
Is this been a year? It must be. It's been a long time.
Every time we talk about years,
I know,
and
it's
the
all
WAN
blurred.
show, my head just starts to really hurt.
But we get a lot of positive feedback about Dollar Shave Club. Even though their marketing is all for men, we get people saying, hey, I got a Dollar Shave Club subscription for my girlfriend, and it's awesome because she always has fresh razors, which is good for everyone involved. So let's go ahead and move on to our next sponsor here, Lynda.com. Do you think she shaved her legs? She doesn't look like the leg shaving sort.
But you never know. Sometimes the nerds are freaky.
Sometimes the nerds are freaky. I guess that could be true.
When you study things intently, you tend to know a lot about certain things.
Right. But
that could be a large
doesn't.
benefit.
Does Lynda.com have like
No, probably not.
any?
But
like,
she might still have that knowledge.
Right.
She's just not necessarily sharing
She seems
it.
like she knows a lot of things. Anyway,
does.
the point is Lynda.com is our second sponsor for today. You can go to lynda.com/WAN show for a free 10-day trial. And why would you want to do that? Well, because you might want to expand your mind. Lynda.com is another one of the services that we actually get a metric butt ton of really positive feedback about, like, hey, I started using it. It's absolutely great.
Now
you can
I'm
learn.
a freaking bed.
I'm sorry?
Nothing.
That's not what happened. I'm trying to maintain transparency and honesty with our audience about our sponsors. And you're like, yeah, I learned how to have sex on lynda.com. That was where you went with this. That is not what you learn on lynda.com. They have internet sites for that. Lynda.com is not one of them. Lynda.com is all about learning skills that you can apply in your real life, whether it's as your hobby or a profession. And I know this isn't making it any better. So things like photography, things like video editing, things like business. These are things that you can learn on lynda.com. And whether you want to start your own business, whether you want to get a job using these new skills you've developed, lynda.com is the place to go. Visit lynda.com/WAN show for a free 10-day trial. You know, the thing about lynda.com is the sponsor read guidelines they give me are generally like pretty corporate and pretty by the book. And then for some reason they keep sponsoring us. Even though I completely break the sponsor read like every time.
Oh jeez. That one was going fine too. I just had to.
You completely derailed it.
I came in like a wrecking ball.
I take no responsibility for this. Oh. So let's get into the Microsoft Windows 10 Keynote. Windows 10 is a paradigm-shifting, all-new, it's Windows as a service. Although it's not quite Windows as a service the way that I was looking for it to be.
Yes.
But it still kind of is. The idea is having the same experience whether you're on this kind of a device or this kind of a device or a much larger device.
Pretend this is a monitor, this kind of a device.
This box under here. Okay, that's not going to work. You got this.
I caught it by looking in the camera. That was awesome. That was sweet. Anyways, all right, we're good.
So their concept here is called Continuum, which is very different from continuity, by the way.
Oh, super different.
It actually is pretty different, because Continuum is supposed to be about having the same look and feel across the devices, whereas continuity is about having access to the same information across devices and being able to use the features of one device on another device. Okay, it's a very blurry line. But
yes.
The point is, then there were a few cool things that stood out. It's about almost a 2.5-hour keynote that...
Honestly, it's pretty good.
Oh, I was going to say it was terrible.
Really?
Yeah, okay.
I thought a lot of their presenters, I think, probably practiced it too many times, so that they were, like, stuttering on things that should have just been fluid speech. But... I didn't mean good. Okay, I didn't mean good as in the presenters were like very engaging people. I think the content was pretty good.
I mean, you watch Apple's keynote addresses, right?
No, not really. Not usually, because I'm usually working while they're going.
There was some also ran sort of presentation skills going on with the. Okay, that should have been.
The presentation skills were not great, but the content I think was good.
The content was okay, but it should have been an hour-and-a-half keynote.
Probably.
There were ways to condense that.
Yeah.
There was some really great. When the CEO came up at the end and sort of talked about how it all tied together, that was great. But there was a lot of filler throughout.
I do also appreciate that they bring people on stage that are very in touch with what's going on.
Yes.
They could have just put hosts up there.
That's true, and that would have been
like,
terrible.
Yeah, and like I would rather it be the guy that may not be super amazing at presenting, but did a lot of this stuff, or led the teams that did a lot of this stuff, and was deeply integrated with it the entire time. Like the guy that did the hologlass, which we'll get to that at some point. He's been working on that project for like 7 years. Like, maybe not the best presentation skills, but you can tell the whole time that he's on stage that he cares to a crazy degree.
Yep.
And I liked that.
Very passionate.
So maybe not the presentation skill was super high, but I knew that he cared, and that actually made me care more about it. And I focused more on the device instead of just the presentation. Anyways.
All right, so let's go through and let's do the highlight reel. This was posted by Cesare on the forum, by the way. So for me, huge highlight was that it looks like Windows 10 is going to do a much better job with convertible devices. Oh, sorry, we don't call them convertibles anymore. 2-in-1 devices. So things that are notebooks and also tablets like this one, allowing it the switch between a tablet mode that by default has your applications, whether they're Win32 or modern UI applications, by default be full screen with multitasking being swiping in from the left to boom, your keyboard's connected. Now you have a more traditional window management desktop, laptop type experience.
Yeah.
Looked really good, huge improvement. So one of the big things aside from window sizes is start menu. So instead of being stuck with that full screen thing, there's a new micro modern start menu within a more traditional start menu that can have text in it as well. Looks absolutely fantastic.
To add to that, you can maximize it.
Yep.
There's like a window maximize button where you can make it bigger if you want, which I kind of doubt anyone will really use, but it's there if you want it.
Another one I'm really excited about is it looks like Microsoft is stepping up to Apple's level here with respect to in-OS integration of things like calendars, things like notifications. Something I really have felt like is missing. It's like, look, I don't want to use Bing, and I don't want to use your calendar because they suck. I use a Google Calendar on OS 10. I can just sync my Google Calendar, boom, OS 10's calendar application, which is great, by the way, automatically has all my crap in it. I don't have to think about it. So it looks like we're going to get support for stuff like that. On the subject of Bing, I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that, but a lot of the stuff they were showing off is very Bing and OneDrive reliant, which is extremely frustrating to me.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who uses OneDrive. And you know what? Here, let's go ahead.
Before we get into that, if we're going to finish this Continuum
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm going to create a straw poll.
Sure. Okay, so Windows 10 will be free for people that have Windows 7 Plus, so Windows 7 or Windows 8. And it's free for a year, but by that they mean you have to activate within a year. And then it's free forever once you've moved to it. So it's not that your license runs out in a year. It's that you need to move up within a year, essentially. Which is, I think, understandable, personally. So upgrade all your stuff, then you'll be fine. Also, if you are on their, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but their early adopter program, where you're testing out Windows 10 right now, a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today will be in updates very soon. Apparently the Cortana update is going to be fairly quick here, which is actually very interesting and has me kind of looking for a device to install it on because I want to try that out. We'll talk about that more later. And they're going to have the install versions for phone, Windows 10 for your phone, fairly soon for those early adopter guys as well, which, again, I don't remember the name of.
And Windows 10 for phones are just, I don't think this is in our notes, but one thing that I really liked there was they're making they're making everything look more similar, but one of the big ones that they fixed, this has been a big gripe for me, is the settings menu. So they are making it look similar on phone and on desktop and tablet, and then they're consolidating everything. Like, it was really broken.
Yeah.
With some things in modern, some things in the classic UI, and just extremely frustrating. So here we go. I just posted a straw poll. I mean, I want to know what cloud services you guys are using, because a lot of the stuff they demoed was like super cool if you happen to have a Surface 3 and a Windows Phone and you use OneDrive and like...
OneDrive.
So basically if you're a Microsoft employee...
Yeah.
And I hope to see better integration with some third-party services, even though I'm not sure if that's going to happen.
One thing too is Microsoft has never really been that hardcore about needing to use their stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it launches with these things.
But they're trying to create that more integrated experience, and quite frankly, they probably have to do it.
Hopefully they're trying to make the availability of more integrated services. One thing you can tell definitely is that it isn't this, or at least it doesn't seem to be, I guess. You can tell definitely that it doesn't seem to be the like split team idea that Microsoft used to be.
Yep.
Everyone seems to kind of be coming together and working together now, which is good. God, that should have happened a long time ago. Maybe more people would be voting for OneDrive right now if that had actually happened.
What else we got here? The new Office for mobile, which is free on devices under whatever inches, I think 7 or 8, something like that, looks fabulous. So aside from being able to have like a full-fledged Microsoft Word, like they've modified the ribbon interface to sit at the bottom of the screen,
cool.
Which looks fantastic.
Yeah.
It actually works kind of across the device. So if you're writing an email in Outlook, you can have a fully fledged Microsoft Word engine word processor on your phone in order to compose emails, which is fantastic to me. The new photo aggregation and organization application that's included looks really great. I always liked Windows Photo Gallery, but it lacked the automation that I thought it needed. So this one does little things like it'll retouch your photos automatically, which I'm personally not a huge fan of, but it'll get rid of duplicates and it'll sort bursts on its own
and
automatically.
You can turn off all those things.
And you can
so if you don't want retouching, I'm pretty sure it can turn it off.
Yes, so you can do all that stuff too. And then one last thing that was just kind of this stood out to me about the whole presentation and seems to be like a gem that I don't see too many other people talking about is OneDrive music collection and playlist syncing.
Yeah.
You can drag and drop your entire music library into OneDrive, and boom, it's everywhere with all your playlists accessible and automatically updated. That is freaking cool. Personal cloud music service is awesome for folks who have large collections of CDs and or digital files that they've purchased over the years.
Or just like, owning your own stuff, which is cool.
Just owning your own data is a really cool. I mean, it's still on someone else's cloud server, and so there's that.
But you own the songs instead of a service like the Google Music thing,
where
once
you
you're
must
done
pay
with
forever.
it, they're all gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if I kind of went, okay, there's probably only 3,000 songs that I'll ever care about in my life, and if I subscribe to this for $8 a month for 30 years, what's actually a better value for me? Oh, okay. Like
sure.
there's some math to do for which one works best for you, but either way, I think that's a really cool feature. So I'll let you do Spartan Browser, because Spartan Browser looks like Microsoft kind of hedging their bets a little bit, but also moving in the right direction.
I think they're moving in the right direction. Anyways, there's a new rendering engine that they say is more for today's web. Lol. Your last one apparently wasn't
OneDrive
very
is
good.
doing better than I thought. 16%.
It's doing better than I thought too, but it's still not 44%.
Yeah.
With Google Drive. I actually thought Dropbox would have more. Yeah, I thought Google Drive would be right about there. Dropbox would have more, and OneDrive would have less.
I hate Google Drive's interface.
Me too.
Okay, go ahead.
I still use it more just because it happens to be there and it's free. But yeah. Anyways, one of the coolest things is that you can mark up the web quite easily. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, you could kind of like snipping tool and then write on it, and it's fine. And there's other kind of stuff for this already, but it's very well integrated. So if you have a pen or a touchscreen device in general, so you just want to use your finger, you can draw all over websites and do whatever. If you have a keyboard, you can add in a commenting system, which looks really nice. It looks very similar to Word's commenting system, which is actually really good. We use it a lot in Office here. I guess in-house actually very specifically works, but like you can highlight things and comment them, like very, very good, and it's collaborative to a certain degree. So by snapshotting it, you essentially take the website offline in the aspect that if there's an update to that website, your snapshot will not update, but all the links and everything that are on there will continue to work, and all that kind of stuff will still be fine. And I believe you'd be able to right click on an image and view its source and information, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's just a snapshot of a web page, and then you can share that to people and mark it up collaboratively, which is actually really cool.
It's really cool. I can see Reddit getting behind something like that.
Yeah, and all this support, hopefully someone doesn't just mark the whole page, but I'm sure there will be
all over it.
Stuff for that. Yeah, and all this collaborative ability is built into the browser, so all the buttons for it and stuff are built into the browser, so it's very quick and easy to do, which is pretty cool. That's the main thing in terms of markup, and that's the main thing in terms of the rendering engine, which they didn't really talk about, but it also has Cortana built into it. Cortana.
Oh, here, I have the markup. I have the markup clip here.
Yeah, so you can see later on he draws a smiley face, which I guess he'll do in a second. I didn't realize this was actually playing, but like he circled it, drew this, does a smiley face, and in a little bit here you'll see him actually share it with other people. Well, I don't know if he actually does, but he goes to do it. Anyways, Cortana integration.
Can we talk about how Internet Explorer and codename Spartan will both be included with Windows 10?
Yeah.
And Spartan will be available pretty much across the board, so we're going to have Spartan on... Windows 10 is all about unifying all this stuff, so it'll be on your phone, it'll be on the desktop, it'll be everywhere. It looks really interesting. Is there anything else that we can talk about Spartan yet? I mean, they've redone the UI to make it look more...
Because it's not Windows, or it's not Internet Explorer 10.
So let's move on to... should we talk about Cortana on the desktop before Cortana in Spartan?
I don't actually think so, because Cortana in Spartan is very specific.
Okay, sure. So let's talk about what Cortana will do in Spartan.
Yes, exactly. So she's not as... it does not function the same way as Cortana on the desktop, so we'll talk about that in a second. She's more of like a pre-done web crawler, which will try to assume the information that you want from a web page for you. So say you go to the restaurant one is a very good application for this.
It's a good example, but it's also not a particularly compelling example because I can Google Maps search a restaurant and most of that information comes up in the drop down.
That's not all she does.
I know. All right. Go ahead.
So she can get you address and directions, like he just said, phone number and all that kind of stuff, which is usually quite easy to find on a restaurant website. But there are definitely some restaurants where they might not even have the menu on the website, or they have it somewhere else, and she can try to figure out this information for you. And if the menu isn't super detailed, or say you're like, what the heck is that, she'll have already figured out all this information. So if you click on a word that's like, I don't know, artichoke, which you should probably know, but anyways, she can tell you about it. She can give you dietary information, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like an assistant. Really cool. Yeah, it's kind of an assistant in terms of that. Yes, of course, things like the address is probably pretty easy, and
even
most
menu
websites
is often there.
Menu is often there and often detailed enough, but it'll also have, like, you can click on a menu item and it'll give you Yelp reviews.
Yep.
Like, these kind of things are actually pretty cool and helpful. Not groundbreaking and not things that you wouldn't have been able to do on your own, but helpful.
Yeah, but stuff like when you start typing in an address, having Cortana kind of jump in and be like, oh, hey, is this actually what you wanted to know? So, it's all going to come down to how well it works. And Microsoft's sales pitch for Cortana involves a whole lot of, it's powered by Bing! Which is like,
scary. Very scary.
And has Bing improved?
That assumption thing that he was bringing up is basically if it knows you're waiting for a flight from somewhere, if you're waiting for someone to come in and you start typing in that airline's website, it'll just be like, oh, well, that flight's coming in at this time. Is that what you're actually looking for? And then you don't really have to actually go to the website, which is nice.
Which is very cool. We're also getting Cortana on the desktop. And quite frankly, I don't understand why this didn't happen before. I have no idea why Siri isn't on OS X.
Yep.
I cannot think of a reason.
Or why Google Now isn't a desktop app.
I mean, every MacBook and every iMac has a microphone, like, for sure. It's on there. And has speakers, like, they're built in. So why was Apple not the first one to do this?
Yeah.
They sat on ass since they released Siri and did nothing on the desktop. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. So Cortana's coming to the desktop. Microsoft... Sorry, go ahead.
It's like your typical kind of assumption for voice control. There's also kind of interesting things like that Cortana is a trusted assistant, so you can tell it what you want it to know and what you don't want it to know.
Yeah, so in the notebook, you can be like, yeah, I'd really prefer for you to not know my gender or not know the year that I was born. But the more information you give Cortana, the more relevant stuff will just kind of pop up. Like, hey, the game that you want to see, yo dog, there might be some information about it. Or if you happen to be a big sports fan. Actually, I thought one of the best examples of it being smart was one that they didn't even give in the presentation because the presenter for this part was talking about how he was a big sports fan, and the like front and center on like whenever we were kind of looking over his shoulder at his devices, it was all about Inflategate, which is the big sports news right now.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was really cool. If there's more
we really need to stop putting gate on the ends of things.
If there's more that Cortana can do to keep relevant information at your fingertips, then I think that's great. So you just click on the search bar near the start button. You get like a Google Now style information feed. It can be used through type or voice, so you don't have to yammer at your computer like a person who talks to their computer if you don't want people to think you're crazy. And yeah, I mean, it's probably worth tuning in to just the Cortana on desktop part of the keynote if you watch nothing else. Well, that and the hologram thing.
I actually see myself using Cortana on desktop more than I see myself using Google Now.
I can imagine that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I'm just walking around my house, especially because I have a Snowball.
Yeah.
And like people that have mics that are not necessarily just headset mics, because especially ones that are like adaptive, like a Snowball is. So if it doesn't hear anything for a little while, it'll try to reach out more.
Right.
So if I'm in my kitchen, it might actually be able to pick me up.
Right.
And if I'm like, hey, Cortana, play music, it'll hear me from fairly far away because it's a Snowball, and then actually be able to start playing music and stuff. That's really cool.
You might like Google Now more if it was
on the desktop.
If it was on your wrist.
Oh, yeah, probably.
But although I still find myself using Google Now very little because...
But Google Now on my wrist can't control my speakers on my desktop.
That's correct. So the integration...
Unless I have some other weird setup.
It's the ecosystem fragmentation. So what I could do is if I had Sonos support, which will likely come eventually, I could play music.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, Sonos, play my Google Play whatever now, whatever. So it's kind of going from Google to through the Sonos app. So yeah, so through Sonos' app to Google's
Sonos,
service.
Sonos, please play this.
Plays through the Sonos. So it's very fragmented. Yeah. But if Microsoft can maintain control of all those different steps in the chain, then yes, it could provide a very seamless experience.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to comment on, they also showed off some Cortana stuff on mobile. So they sent. Actually, no, I think this particular demo was on the desktop.
The email was on the desktop.
Yeah, the email was on the desktop at about 35 minutes into the keynote, where he uses Cortana to type an email, and the email is a one-liner with a subject line and takes a minute to send. And I kind of went, all this talk about natural interaction with our electronics and how touch and voice are the direction that we're heading, I agree with touch. Touch always kind of made sense to me. Voice continues to make absolutely no sense to me, and I'm gonna pull out my crystal ball and I'm gonna say voice will never be a mainstream interaction with a device. Well, I shouldn't say mainstream. It'll never be It'll never be a great experience, and it'll always be a little bit weird. Talking to yourself.
I think you're totally wrong.
Okay, fine. So let's get to that.
Keep doing your thing. Yeah.
So the reason that I have for this is that whenever you use voice control, you are going to disrupt everyone around you. Which means in the workplace, it will never make any sense because, and I've been using it. I've been having a little bit of fun with it because it's not like I don't have a voice control thing on my wrist at all times. I'll get a message while we're filming, and I'll be like, okay, Google, blobbity blobbity bloopity blop. What did it come up with for that? Body, something lick? Anyway, so, and I'll talk at it, and immediately anyone else in the room kind of goes, huh, what? Because I'm not talking loud enough for them to hear me properly, but I have to talk loud enough for the microphone to hear me. So in an environment where you have to be around other people, it's never going to make an ounce of sense. And I even think the same thing will be true for the home to some degree. Yes, there are fewer people and they're not necessarily trying to do anything, but if I'm reading on the chair and my son is on the couch trying to control some crap on the screen and is talking at it, I'm going to be like, shut up. Pick up a controller. Because that's annoying. Because we're hardwired in much the same way that our eyes are hardwired to notice movement, even in our peripheral vision. We are hardwired to notice, especially the sound of another human being communicating, and it is extremely distracting to us if it's happening all the time and it has nothing to do with what we're supposed to be paying attention to. So I
don't see why any of those reasons mean that it'll never be a mainstream interactive.
Mainstream was the wrong word. So I said that immediately. Mainstream is the wrong word. It'll be mainstream, and then I was searching for another word and I got lost. Because anyone can use it. I mean, what does mainstream mean? It means it's on every device and like anyone will use it.
I think it will be very widely used.
But it will be extremely edge case scenarios where it makes any sense to use versus anything else.
I think an office setup like we have is a fairly edge case scenario, to be completely honest. A lot of people have cubicles and a lot of people are expected to be on the phone while they're in their cubicle a lot. So I think voice control while you're in an area where you're expected to be talking to no one else is totally fine.
Okay, but
also voice control apps are trying to learn their user's voice. That's a constant thing that they're not very good at yet. I'm not saying
that wasn't even my concern at all.
I'm not I know I'm going somewhere. Give me a moment. We're far from it being super great. We all definitely know that. But it's trying to learn your voice. So if you were in even a very crowded, very loud area, if you talked at a fairly normal tone, it should be able to figure out that that was you talking and what you said. And whether or not that comes from microphones on your headphones.
Better noise cancellation.
Better noise cancellation.
Whatever else.
Or somehow. So you should be able to use it while walking around about wherever very easily, and it should be able to talk to you. You should be able to use it in cubicle-style environments. You should be able to use it in tons of different environments. Maybe it's not that thing where your dad's sitting in the same room as you and you're trying to talk to the TV. You should probably use a remote, because definitely in that situation, your dad's going to be like, what the hell are you trying to talk to me about? I'm trying to read this thing.
Right.
I don't expect it to be used there, but just like almost every single other input medium, it hasn't replaced the other input mediums. You're still expected, like, the fact that we can already talk to our TVs has not removed the clicker. The fact that you can do motion control with a lot of TVs has not removed the clicker.
Especially because it's terrible.
That laptop has... Yeah, really bad. Really bad. I hate those things. The fact that this laptop has a touchscreen on it hasn't removed the keyboard, because the keyboard is still extremely good. It's just a different way.
So, okay, I agree that it's a different way. The problem is I don't even know if there is a word to describe my... Okay, I guess what I'm looking for is the stigma, the weirdness of interacting with something by voice in front of other people. I don't think that's going to go away. And it might work better. Better noise cancellation and voice recognition will make it function better.
And I think the things that are hearing you, whatever you want to call them at this point in time, need to become more personable as well.
Yes, they do.
For that to be a thing. And I think this might sound a little bit morbid, but the people that came before voice control was a big thing kind of need to die off and go away. No,
okay,
I know that sounds terrible.
Okay, so to be more socially acceptable,
yes,
you think either society needs to shift its perception, which the only way it really happens is by...
And this is a known thing. Certain things don't get adopted until the people that were alive before it aren't alive anymore. Like, I know that's a terrible thing to really say.
Right.
But it's the thing.
So maybe I'm one of the people who has to die. One scenario that...
I don't even mean that necessarily.
One scenario I can see where it will make more sense than it does today is if it's combined with something where you have a visual heads-up display that allows you to read.
Yeah.
Because, okay, my issue with voice control right now is whenever it doesn't quite go right, and the safeguards that have to be in place in case it doesn't go right. Because his one-liner email took a minute to send. That is devastating. Maybe other people have lots of time on their hands, but I don't have a minute to send a one-liner. And if I was going to send something much more complicated than a one-liner, then I'm going to spend either I or... an assistant that I guess I have to hire is going to have to spend a bunch of time going through and editing something. And they did show off, okay, you can put in a hashtag and it automatically punctuates and all that stuff. That doesn't mean I don't have to go back through and edit it if I'm doing anything longer and more complicated. So to me...
again, too, I think this is where... much further down the line. And I've always found the messaging, especially when it's not just a recording of your voice, to be a very odd use case.
Right.
For voice control because of these issues. It takes way longer in the end. And like maybe, okay, if both of your hands are currently preoccupied, if you're trying to cook something, say, or if you're trying to do something else, maybe, sure.
And I use this for that periodically.
Yeah, I'm sure. But then like when his thing was, not you, the guy in the presentation, was that he was like working on Excel on his monitor and he had too many Excel things open so he couldn't send an email. I'm just like it's going to be so much easier.
The people
just to tab.
Okay, that's my point then, I guess. Yeah. The people inventing it don't seem to know what it's for.
Yeah.
Because it's not for that at all.
No, not really. I don't think that use case was very good. I think voice is a crazy important medium. I think it's going to be one of the most important ways that we interact with devices, not now. I think it will be at some point in time.
And there's a few things that could really fix this for me. Like if I didn't have to hold it to my face.
Yes, no, that's an important change that needs to happen.
Make the recognition good.
Yeah.
If I could, like, okay, walking down the street would be a great example where I wouldn't want to kind of... If I'm going to pull out a device and kind of yak at it, I might as well do it with my phone. Whereas if I do have a head-mounted display or an augmented reality display of some sort where I can read the message and then I just kind of say, okay, yes, okay, that's less weird to me than just kind of walking down the street going like this. Like, I mean, we saw that version of the future. If you watch the movie Her, where near the end of the movie, just everyone is walking around talking to their AI people that they're in, or digital people that they're in relationships with, their artificial intelligences that they're in these relationships with. I don't see that happening. And maybe it's old-fashioned, but we are going to crave the actual attention of other people, and other people are always going to be...
in her relationships with your AI, that was still not very widespread.
Closer to the end, where
even they were friends, but the like relation. It depends how you define relationship.
Sorry, relationship doesn't necessarily mean girlfriend boyfriend. It just means relationship.
Yeah.
So I don't remember where we're going with this. I don't think you and I actually disagree that much. I think
it was terminology.
I think it was the way that I phrased it.
It was a terminology thing.
Like I think it's always, and when I say edge case, I don't mean edge case where only certain people will ever use it. I mean edge case within your daily life where it will make sense to use it. Like we've got people bringing up that driving is a great use case for voice control. And I would mostly agree. It still needs to be better.
Oh yeah, it needs to be better.
A lot of the time I will go to use voice control. I actually have a dock that sits kind of about this far from my face. So I can my phone is never more than 2 feet from me in the car. And even with it there, if I try to use voice control to reply to a text message, it'll make a mistake unless I'm just saying something very simple, a good double-digit percentage of the time. And when that happens, and I've got 2 seconds to cancel the notification, all of a sudden I'm scrambling for my phone and I'm driving. Until it's
really bad.
Basically perfect.
Yeah.
it doesn't make a ton of sense
I
to me.
think right now it's definitely an edge case. I think at some point in time, I don't think it'll be nearly as much of an edge case. And I think we'll almost be designing offices based around to it once we get to a certain degree.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the Xbox gaming app.
Yeah.
So my games, everything you play on any Windows 10 device,
Yeah.
although I don't know how much clarification we have with respect to, oh shoot, what was I thinking when I was watching this? Crap, I forget now. Anyway, okay, so everything you play on Windows,
Okay.
oh right. So there's lots of integration with things like friends lists, messages, activity feeds, there's a lot of talk with respect to sharing with people and communicating about Skype. And it's like, that's great. Fix the IP resolver bug and I'll talk to you about Skype. Skype right now, nobody should use it if they don't want people to know their IP address and therefore their location.
Yeah.
All you need is someone's Skype ID and you can know pretty much within a block where they are or where they were, where they've been.
Super
you can
bad.
see a history. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's devastating.
Yeah.
You should not be using Skype if you care at all. So anyway, all this integration with Skype, totally irrelevant to me. So they're talking about friends list, messages, all this stuff, and I kind of wonder, okay, well, so are we tied to their social network? They mentioned Steam very briefly.
Yep.
Presenter said, hey, I'm a
He's
Steam
using
gamer.
it to launch a game.
He used it to launch a game, but I don't know if we're going to see any kind of cooperation between
That's
Valve
another
and
thing
Microsoft.
that actually bugged me is that he didn't launch the Steam game through the Xbox gaming app.
Launched it through Steam.
He should have been able to click launch, and it should have maybe even just popped up Steam and then loaded the game or something. But he left the Xbox gaming app and launched it through Steam.
So it looks like it might be a replacement for the
that
My
might be
Games
assuming
folder.
too many things.
With more social integration, there's an activity feed, so you can see like achievements that other people got and stuff. Personally, I don't creep my Steam buddies' achievements that often, so I don't really feel a need to see that. But what's cool is you can capture the last 30 seconds of gameplay and edit it up and share it, which is pretty cool. Something that we kind of already have with things like NVIDIA Shadowplay, but more refinement and more ubiquity is great.
Yes, people jumped all over that. Oh, we already have this. Well,
not everyone does.
Shadowplay is not on everyone's things.
Not even all NVIDIA GPUs support Shadowplay. So.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that have it and don't have it on, and I know a lot of people that have trouble with it and all this kind of stuff. This is built in. Everyone will have it. It's cool. I like the fact that it's there. I really like the fact that it's there.
So,
easy to use, too.
This one remains to be seen. If it's going to be this closed garden sort of, everyone has to use the Xbox gaming app and you have to, interact with Xbox gamers, then I don't know how much it's going to take off.
I like that I'll be able to have some form of communication with buddies that I have that might be playing Xbox stuff. Honestly, I think that's pretty cool. I like cross-platform stuff.
And the Fable Legends demo was pretty cool. So they had Xbox and Windows playing a game at the same time. The thing about that demo, though, is that a lot of fuss got made about how it's running on Windows 10. This isn't new functionality, and this isn't something that game developers haven't been able to do for a long time. It's just they had a game that they could show where it was actually done.
And it wasn't a shooter game.
That's all that really happened.
I was hoping. I found that interesting
for
too.
Shooter game too.
He was wearing a Grunt shirt, I think. I don't know enough about Halo because I haven't played in the last while, but I think that was the Grunt logo, as in like the little dudes.
You're asking me.
Anyways,
Anyway.
the Twitch chat will let me know. But he was wearing a Grunt thing, so the whole time I'm like, oh, Master Chief Collection's coming to PC, and it didn't. And I was like, what? Come on.
But DirectX 12 is basically here at this point. They're saying this is really funny. I like the spin on it. CPU bound game performance. CPU bound games can see performance increases of up to 50%, which is basically like saying not a whole lot is going to happen. I mean, AMD made the same kinds of claims about Mantle. It is good that the PC is finally getting APIs that'll support much greater numbers of draw calls for better complexity, much lower level APIs for interacting with the hardware more directly, allowing game developers to squeeze more performance out of the hardware in general. But much like we've seen on every game console so far, it's going to take time for devs to even get any extra performance out of the hardware, learning these new techniques. So we're not going to see, I don't think, anything that significant with the first generation of DirectX 12 games, other than, much like AMD is touting with Mantle, easier porting from console versions. Look at Assassin's Creed Unity for a great example of a game that is severely just hampered on the PC because... well, and on the console, but compared to even to the console,
Yeah.
by the number of draw calls that they just didn't reconfigure the game to not require on the PC version. So it'll enable that, and then other than that, more efficient use of CPU, so you won't need as powerful a CPU. And then given the way that the resolution race has been heating up lately, with us seeing basically 4K go from totally way out there to basically affordable in like a year and a half, and with 5K displays on the horizon. Our Dell 5K is in the mail, by the way.
So 8K displays like slightly beyond the horizon.
Slightly beyond the horizon. We're not going to be CPU bound in pretty much anything for quite some time. I mean, there are situations where it'll be great. I can see something like, a physics combat based game, like a space sim, where all the weapons are physics based. Yeah.
We can see the viability of these games actually being a thing more now,
Yes, which is
cool.
exciting.
Yeah.
But I think people who are expecting... it's an expectation management thing. I think people expecting games that have a DirectX 12 and DirectX 11 version to just perform 50% better in DirectX 12, I think they have another thing coming. What's cool about DirectX 12, though, is there basically won't be many reasons to run a game in DirectX 11 mode, because DirectX 11 hardware, for the most part, supports DirectX 12 across the board, which is pretty cool. You can stream from your Xbox to your PC, should you so desire.
Okay, I thought this was cooler than pretty much anyone gave it credit for.
Oh yeah, I didn't think it was that cool, so go ahead.
People hammered on it like crazy.
Convince me.
I think it's cool for the people... Now, okay, basically no one watching this. But, and now I agree with everyone saying that you should be able to use your Xbox as a streaming device from your PC. So you should be able to stream from your PC down to your Xbox.
Yep,
that
it should be both. It should go both ways.
Way more sense. It should go both ways. I completely agree. But what Microsoft seems to be doing right now is this slow unity of everything.
Yep.
And one thing that I really like about the Xbox gaming app, and one thing I really like about being able to Xbox stream in one direction, is that we might be able to pile on top of that more. And he made it very, very clear that the Game Developers Conference will have more information, additional information about stuff that they're doing, and more news for gamers. So there might be more stuff. So maybe streaming in both directions, maybe more games are going to be on both platforms, maybe additional stuff like that. So I think it's cool that you can go in one way. The guys that might want to be playing Xbox exclusives, and that might be the only reason why they have an Xbox, if mom and dad are on the TV, will now be able to play it on their gaming PC anyways. And there are exclusives that are
worth playing.
Do look interesting. Yeah, that's a very frustrating but true fact. So
we still have to buy an Xbox. We just don't have to look at it anymore.
Which is still frustrating, and there would be better ways to do this, but I'm talking steps here. They're making things better progressively, which is good.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this up, but...
Well, do you want to go over these bold things?
Oh, yeah, okay, well, there's a lot more that Microsoft can still do to make gaming on PC better. I mean, one thing that... Yeah, actually, here, you know what? I'm just going to kind of rant about a couple things here. So one is, I mean, where's our Xbox One wireless controller dongles? Like, come on. If you guys are going to act like you're taking PC gaming seriously, like, at least let us use your own freaking controller on your own freaking OS. I have to hope that that kind of thing is coming soon. And there's another thing that I find really frustrating about presentations like this. You know, they're fixing a lot of problems that I didn't really have, which is good, because that's what an innovative company does. It takes what consumers want and kind of goes, okay, that's interesting, but here's what we think you actually need. And that's fine, but I don't see any talk about making the PC experience more seamless in the ways that we've been complaining at them about for years. Like, are we going to finally, for the first time ever, install Windows and not have any exclamation marks in Device Manager? Is there any reason on Earth why something like an Intel storage driver shouldn't automatically work and automatically be perfect, or an Intel NIC driver, or whatever else? You know, Windows Update is such a powerful tool and so awesome, and just so underutilized at this time. And I don't know, maybe I'm asking for too much. Maybe that's just a mundane little detail, and they're gonna fix it by the time Windows 10 launches, and I'm gonna be like, holy crap, the first Windows that's actually easy to get started on. But it's like...
The fact that I can install Linux on one computer and have everything work right out of the gate and install Windows on that same computer and have a lot of it broken right out of the gate is really weird. Like, the adoption for Linux should not be as easy. I mean, it should not be easier than it is for Windows. That's just weird. I love Linux, but like, inherently, you shouldn't be easier to use than Windows. It's just odd.
No, it's not that... Okay, to be clear, it's not that Linux shouldn't be easier. It's that Windows should be easier.
Yes.
Because they have so many resources to throw at it.
They're designed to be that easier install base. Linux is designed to be the more, like, badass, we do it ourselves install base. And I'm not harking on Linux at all. I'm just saying Windows should be easier to install. It's just weird.
Okay, well, I wanted to pull up this section of the live stream, but my internet connection's being poopy.
Oh.
So do you want to just go ahead and start talking about the headset?
Okay, are we skipping the Surface Hub thing? I don't know if it matters.
Yeah, sure. So there's a thing for like meetings, and you can draw on it, and it's like super cool.
It's cool.
And you can,
if you care,
you can share meeting notes like super easily because it's all basically a OneNote presentation. So it's just like blippity bloop, send to the people who are in this meeting, which is super awesome if you happen to buy a gigantic Surface thing for your meeting room and everyone uses OneNote and all those things happen to align.
Yeah. So Windows Holographic, the thing that basically everyone exploded
internet
about. Yeah.
Speaking of exploding, did you notice that at the moments when at an Apple keynote, everyone would like burst into
what was with the people at this one?
They need to bring us to the next one because when they unveiled like Windows Holographic or brought out that 3D printed drone, I'd have been like, yeah, woo!
The audience in this one, and like watching them too, like something really cool would happen, and you'd see everyone go, oh.
It was like going to a Canucks game.
Yeah, it was very odd. No one was excited, and you'd have like the guy go up there and be like, "Do you guys want to see it?" And like that's the cheesiest thing everyone knows it. But
you
gotta have a couple people
throw them a bone. You know
not a single person stepped up.
Do you know how stressful it is to be up there presenting this stuff? Like I'm not gonna say life's work, but Buddy here has been working on this for 7 years. I mean, that's a significant chunk of his life, and he's going to show you this thing, and you're not even going to give him a what? You know, come on. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Freaking cool. No,
I got it on the screen now.
I totally agree with that. Actually, that was very frustrating watching this. And again, that's the thing we were talking about earlier, the presentation thing. Like, not the most amazing presentation, but I appreciate it because of who he is, and you can tell how interested in it he is. Give the guy some freaking claps so he doesn't think he's doing a terrible job.
Not the clap. Lots of claps. It's different. Okay, go ahead.
Anyways, that was a little annoying. Anyways, okay. So they're saying it's the most advanced holographic computer the world has ever seen, which is
probably true.
Probably right. The dark visor up in front, you'll notice there's kind of like lenses inside that look kind of like glasses, might actually be glasses. And then there's the kind of dark, kind of somewhat see-through display on the front. That dark visor is a see-through display. That's where the actual images are showing up.
Yeah.
It's called the HoloLens, and it's still in development, but will be released in the Windows 10 timeframe. So,
based on how quickly we saw Windows 8.1, it could be soon.
Maybe pretty quick. Not really sure. That being said, it will be in the hands of developers by spring. So, no idea when you're going to be able to buy it. Sometime in the Windows 10 timeframe, but it'll be in the hands of developers like super soon. Spring is not that far away. So that's actually pretty cool. There's no external markers, there's no external cameras, there's no external wires plugging into anything, and there's no connection to anything needed at all. It's all inside the HoloLens. You don't have to be connected to a computer, none of that kind of stuff. Super cool. The sensors are flooding, quote-unquote flooding, the device with terabytes of data every second, which is kind of insanity. It has a quote-unquote high-end CPU and GPU, and has its own unique HPU, or hologram processing unit, inside. Now this is seen through the camera rig that you saw on the lady's shoulder, which is wearing, the camera rig is kind of wearing a HoloLens, so it's looking through the camera rig right now. How you interact with the device, as you're going to be able to see here, the lit up part, you point with your face and then you click with your finger. I don't think you actually point with your finger, you just click. And then there's, I think there's one other, voice. So it's voice controlled, look controlled, and finger click controlled. Obviously, I'm sure they can add functionality.
Yeah, there'll be lots more options in the future.
Yeah. One thing
really
that
cool part of
bugs
the
me about that control level right now is, especially in the demo, which is of course a like in the future demo, not this one, which actually looks really cool. But anyways, it shows them you pick things up and you manipulate it and you stretch things and you do stuff like that. None of that works yet.
And you like wave at the wall and like a boom, your Netflix shows up on the wall and you just sit down on the couch and there's like a virtual TV that actually doesn't exist and is strapped to your head and it's like, wow, holy crap.
So that kind of stuff doesn't really work yet because the only controls are look, click, and voice. But they might be a thing. This does exist already. So this is the HoloMaker, I believe it's called, or whatever it's called. That part of my notes got moved or something. Holo Studio, there it is. This is called Holo Studio. So you have that kind of like toolkit on the right hand side. She's obviously created this thing way more than just this one time.
Yeah, she was fast.
Oh yeah, she was really fast. But it's pretty cool, and not even just the idea of being able to make something in HoloMaker, like she just made this quadricopter, but you'd be able to view things. So you'd be able to view a 3D model. Say you wanted to buy something off of Squarespace, not Squarespace.
I don't know. Some place
the
that sells
3D
things
model
online.
printing place that prints everything.
Shapeways.
Started with an S, whatever. If you wanted to buy something off of Shapeways, you'd be able to download the model and actually view it in this type of a form, which would be really cool.
Look around it like this.
Look around it and like see kind of how it works instead of just looking at it on a 2D screen, which is really cool because you're buying a 3D object. And then you'd be able to get it printed and sent to you. It's a very, very cool way to view things.
And,
specifically.
You know, virtual reality will actually do some of these things really well.
Yep.
Maybe even better.
Yep.
But augmented reality, I 100% agree with sort of the sentiment
its own thing.
From the presentation is that it's separate and in some ways better.
Yeah. And
now,
in some ways worse.
With that
it's a
said,
different thing.
This thing is, I will say it, will never be mainstream. Something this big and this bulky will never be mainstream.
Well, I don't think the HoloLens in this form will ever necessarily be this is a very early adopter thing.
And I think some people are gonna get like super stoked on it. It's kind of like Google Glass. CES 2014. Everyone and their freaking dog was running around on the show floor wearing Google Glass. Do you remember how many we saw?
Yeah, and then
Did
I don't
you
think I
see
saw
one
a
this
single
year?
one. No.
And it's not because they all broke. It's because the novelty wore off and Google Glass is dumb.
Yep.
Like, sorry. And there will be forms of a Google Glass type device that will not be dumb, but Google Glass is like super dumb.
And they know that, though. If you looked through the demo, all the cool cinematic demos, they weren't wearing anything.
Yeah. So how they're planning to do that, we don't know yet.
No.
But
maybe it's contacts.
Let's give them some time, hey?
But yeah, it'll be quite a while. But this is a very cool start. And I think could be very cool for certain applications. Like that thing I was talking about, viewing 3D things in real space.
And
because VR would be nice for viewing 3D models, but sometimes you want to see it on something.
Yep.
You can
Furniture shopping.
Furniture shopping.
Man.
Holy crap.
Furniture shopping's like impossible. Whereas if you could just plunk models of stuff down and like redecorate that way, freaking awesome. Or better yet, if you could, use a technology like this to have a Skype call with someone who's also looking at it with you and advising you.
This was one of the coolest things. Sorry, I got to jump on that actually. One of the coolest ways that this can be applied. In the video, they show putting
fixing some plumbing.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it right now, but and the person on the other end of the Skype call is seeing a flat 2D image of what you're able to see and can draw on that image.
It's like put it here and here.
Yeah, and in this video, it's very interesting. Oh, maybe not this video.
I'm not sure.
In one of the videos, the guy that was in this video for a moment talks a lot longer about his experience. Oh no, not this guy. Just a guy that looks very similar. Anyways. And he actually got to do some of these demos, which is one of the coolest things about HoloLens, and something that I didn't know until I watched this whole thing, is that, like, this demo, they're doing it right now.
Looking at it. Sorry.
This Mars demo is working right now. Obviously, this is a render, and it doesn't look that great, but you're able to walk around the Mars environment. And one thing that's pretty cool that they show here, very small, but they do show it here, is that he's able to take his mouse and take it off screen and onto the HoloLens.
Right.
And he can click and manipulate things that are in your HoloLens screen using his mouse and Windows 10 together, and then can walk into the HoloLens area and look at Mars. One thing that, and they were able to do that demo in real time now with reporters, and like The Verge went and did it. And then another demo that was working right now, which is really cool, is the plumbing one.
Yeah.
So he swapped out a light switch. The guy told him where to put the wires and where to secure them and all that kind of stuff. And he was able to swap out the light switch without ever doing it before, with the help of someone who was in Spain. That's super cool. Like, if you're not sure how to fix something, my dad, crazy handy person, if I was able to be like, hey, how do I do this?
Yo,
and he
Pops,
could just be like...
Pop your HoloLens on and let's...
He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
He just has to have Skype. I think that's super cool. It definitely has uses. Again, exactly what you said. It's not going to be glass, or it's not going to be what glass was trying to do. It's not going to, like, you're not going to see 20 people walking down the street wearing these unless you happen to be at CES 2015 or CES 2016, I guess.
I think that's pretty much it. I think we're gonna have to wrap up the show. We ran for almost 2 hours here. Comcast, congratulations! You're the worst company of 2014.
Ubisoft was not in the running.
Yeah, well, I think they wanted it to seem like a contest. So Sid Meier's Starships has been announced. Okay.
It looks like FTL.
According to a study that CNN.com posted smarter people use iPhones, which is ridiculous. It has nothing. It's a tiny sample size, making ridiculous jumps like that iPhones are more popular with rich people, and rich people tend to be more highly educated, and therefore are smarter.
Although
is somehow an indication of intelligence. So come on.
They claim their sample size is millions, but it's actually just one thing that pulled more than once on the same person. The actual install base, I was reading in the comments, across both types of devices was only like 1,200 users or something.
So Google Play now apparently has more apps than the App Store, which is not to say anything necessarily about the quality of the aforementioned apps. And Acer has a Predator 34-inch 3440 by 1440 G-Sync curved monitor coming. Acer is like turning into like
the monitor company,
an exciting company to follow with monitors.
Yeah,
I mean, they've dabbled in the past. They had their gaming branded like orange and black 3D Vision display. They had their Ferrari branded ones like way back. Like every once in a while, they're like, maybe we'll make a high-end monitor, and then it's like a bunch of commodity stuff. And then it's like, hey, now they care all of a sudden. Very cool. Anyway, thank you guys very much for tuning into the WAN show today.
Hold up. Some guy just messaged me, Flaky Banana, says, guys, the Skype issue is fixed. Awareness is the issue. Sent me an image of allow direct connections to your contacts only. That totally doesn't work. Talking about awareness to the issue. That is not safe. That does not save you in any situation, and you're still totally screwed.
Yeah, the resolver got patched within days, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Because we heard about that and thought it was fixed, and
like
boom, DDoSed WAN show!
Yes, it is totally not fixed. The problem is still totally there, and you're right, awareness is a big issue. And that's
what we're doing.
Yes.
Yay!
I just want to, like, I'm not even trying to hammer on you specifically. I want you to be aware before that becomes a problem for you.
This is interesting. Yeah, I know the Glass Explorer program is over. That's not really what I was talking about. I was talking about how the people who own them aren't wearing them anymore because they're over it. Okay, so I think that's it. See you guys.
Bye.
We had like 500 people tune out during the Windows talk. Whatever, screw it, it was important.